guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
A Tuesday scoop session with our guy Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. He's in locker rooms. He's on phones. He's texting up a storm. We'll get some information on our local sports teams here. Let's actually, Judd, you touched on something at the end of Royce Unchained, cheap plug, that we should just start with here on the scoop. So kind of a two-part thing. Number one, you observed, I think correctly, that Kevin O'Connell did look a little just unsettled in the Sunday post-game press conference. I don't know that he expected Darnold to play the way that he did. He's got Dan Campbell shaking his hand, psyching him out, saying, "We'll see you in 2 weeks."
Gonna kick your ass again in 2 weeks, Kevin. Come
looking
on back.
looking forward to making it 3-0 on you. And then the question of how, if you're Kevin O'Connell, how do you put the pieces back together for this team and for Sam Darnold? Let's start there, boys.
So I think the one thing, Dukes, that is intriguing too is the fact that O'Connell was very intentional, to use an O'Connell word, in bringing the team in on Monday, not to practice, but to watch the film. Now, keep in mind, they got in around, I think he said around 3 in the morning from Detroit. Ordinarily, by this point in the season, win or lose, especially with an extra day off because they don't play till Monday, you would not bring the team in. They would be off Monday, Tuesday, start practice on Wednesday. So it's funny. We have seen 14 examples of Kevin O'Connell post-game locker room, right? And his speeches are incredible. They go viral. It's really impressive. You know what we haven't seen? Where he earns his money. 3 speeches now and approaches post-game when he loses.
What if he's just the opposite? You're all worthless humans.
Well, we sort of heard it, though, you guys. On the Netflix receiver series, that outside the locker room clip in Philadelphia, where they had turned over the ball a lot, I think it was week 2 of last year. And he's he's mad, but he's also trying to be reasonable. But anyway, I think this is where KOC is going to earn that contract, Dukes. This is a very interesting situation he faces before playing the Rams.
I agree. Now, he's already earned that contract. How nice would it have been to have a camera in that Vikings locker room late on Sunday in Detroit? We've said that, hey, it's great to get a snippet of these victorious locker rooms. How about some of these loser locker rooms?
Hey,
that
Blake Brando, get out of here.
See.
You're cut.
Well, I mean, heck, that left side of the offensive line, Phil, I mean, we can laugh all we want in the moment. The left side of the offensive line, I'm not kidding, might worry me more heading into Los Angeles compared to Sam Darnold. Now, yes, they got in it was after 3 a.m. It was a tick after 3. It wasn't 4 a.m., but it was even after 3 a.m. He let them go home, sleep, but he brought them in. I commend him for that. I think he is going to have this team ready next Monday, but he was shook. How about just some of those tight shots at the end of the broadcast on Sunday? So not even necessarily at the podium evaluating what took place, but also some of the shots that NBC had of him, those tight shots, where he looked bewildered, befuddled, right? Like he in a million years, I don't think any of us saw the game playing out the way it did. Detroit winning, okay. I think a lot of us thought, okay, sure, there's a chance Detroit is going to win that game. But I don't think any of us saw it coming in that fashion. But yes, I think KOC is going to have these guys ready. The extra day certainly helps. Having intimate knowledge of the Rams helps. Now, it goes both ways. We understand that. But this is an opponent they understand. We're not talking about some sort of hostile environment next Monday night. What will it be? 10 to 15,000 Vikings in attendance? I'm just telling you, I have the utmost confidence that KOC is going to have this team ready to play against the Rams. I'm not predicting a monumental run, winning 3 road games, playing in New Orleans on February 9th, but I feel pretty good about Monday night.
One thing that amuses me in these conversations, like with Sam Darnold, and it's mostly the national media that does this, but it's local too, man. Like we sat there on Ventline for an hour and a half after the game, and we're getting the fire hose of social media here, Purple Daily. It's Sam Darnold a week ago, you'd be stupid to not give him $40 plus $50 million a year. How would you ever possibly let that dude out the door? And then 1 week later, going on the road, the biggest game of his career. By the way, the Lions, that was like 60 years of pressure being released, playing for their first 1 seed, a division championship, finishing off this incredible season, probably the best year in Lions history, at least in the Super Bowl age for sure. And they're a high-powered offense. Like, it all kind of makes sense that, yeah, in retrospect, yeah, Darnold that probably wasn't ready for that moment, and the Lions were just a better team that was well prepped. But it can't just be, that was a bad game. Let's see if he bounces back again. It's now we run the other way, and he's exposed. He turned into a pumpkin. Can't the truth be somewhere in between? Isn't there room for him to take a deep breath this week, for the Vikings to go back to the drawing board with a great coaching staff and beat the Rams on the road? Like, why does it all have to be crumbling down after week 18?
I agree. There's some play calling type stuff that can change too, in terms of draws, in terms of some quick hitters, right? I mean, there's some different things they can do. I imagine the Rams are going to blitz like crazy. We saw that on Sunday. I imagine we'll see that with the Rams as well. Maybe a bit of a blueprint to defend Sam Darnold. But I think there is going to be some obvious changes that the Vikings make. Very smart coaching staff. So I'm with you, Phil. It doesn't need to be the extreme one way or the other. The other narrative I heard a lot on Monday was KOC going from obvious coach of the year to no way, no how can he be coach of the year?
Dude,
how can you not give Dan Campbell coach of the year? It flipped just like that. In fact, I love him. He's one of our friends, but Myron Metcalf on ESPN Radio was saying he wasn't like hardcore, no way, no how can Kevin win, but he's like, I now think Dan Campbell is going to win. I heard some other national talking heads on Monday, or I guess Tuesday, say, I guess it would have been Monday into early Tuesday morning when I was up early this morning, suggesting that, like, Dan is the guy now. And I don't get it. I don't get the extremes one way or the other. On Darnold, to me, the plan in place, that his body of work November into December merits, okay, you at least need to consider using the franchise tag. I've always tag him. This shifted in the last maybe 2 months, but I've long thought now, you franchise tag him, then trade him. That the plan is still to go with J.J. McCarthy next year. But there are so many quarterback needy teams, there's not enough draft eligible, capable quarterbacks that you can trade Sam Darnold. That to me has made the most sense going back a while now.
And Dukes, that's why the game against the Rams is so important, though, because if Darnold lays an egg again, do you franchise him? Because to franchise him and trade him, you're going to want to send him to a team, or more importantly, the team that acquires him is going to say, okay, that's cool, we'll take you on the tag, but we are going to work on extension. Well, if he has back-to-back complete eggs laid, they're going to say, we don't want to sign you to a long-term contract. And so this gets to be, and where I would say I am concerned is KOC was shook because of Darnold's play. Like, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but his defense played well. Like, they had gave up 17 points through 3 quarters. I think he was shook because the size of the meltdown was so huge. It's one thing if you have sort of a bad half or a bad quarter. He was literally hyperventilating. And all the mechanics that they've worked so hard on, all my years that I worked on, went out the window in one game. I think he was shook because of that. So, like, that's the thing is now, can you get him back? Can you get him back to where he was for a playoff game, which, again, is going to be in prime time? The circumstances, in some ways, are going to be similar. Can you get that guy back? And if you have to as well, that does sort of make up your mind, though. Like, if you think that J.J. McCarthy is a cool customer, a winner, a guy that can handle the moment privately, no matter how Sam plays, you're going to say, I want the guy that I think can handle this consistently. This is going to take a lot of work by KO, which is, I think, why he was shaken by the result.
Yes, I mean, it'll be a busy few days on the practice field later this week. No denying that, but why can't he fix it? like, to me, there's all the proof that he can fix it, whether it's the way Sam responded after a pedestrian game in London against the Jets or against Jacksonville. Now, I get it. Playing the Titans is different than playing the Rams in prime time in a playoff game. I completely understand that. But to me, a lot of the mechanics, why can't they be fixed? We saw very good mechanics from Sam for a good portion of the year. We saw good decision making, right? But again, to me, schematically, play calling wise too, there's some things that Kevin can do different. But I think the two of them can come together this week and have success next Monday night.
His problem was, though, that the mechanics, he couldn't fix the mechanics in game. Like, he needed to calm down. He was going to get his ass kicked. Like, that's the Lions' plan. And he needed to calm himself down, get rid of the ball, and he couldn't do it. Like, that's the concern. Because I can teach you, I mean, KO can teach him the mechanics. He knows what, it's not like he forgot what to do. It's that he couldn't execute it because his mind was racing. That's where the question becomes, if that happens again, can you bring it back or not?
And just to jump in, and we will see, but when you watch that game, Jared Goff has played in some of the biggest games you're going to play in the last 7 years. He's played in a Super Bowl. He's played in multiple NFC championship games. Jared Goff has kind of been through some wars that a lot of quarterbacks haven't. Sam Darnold, this is the first time Darnold's ever played a full season, really. A couple times in New York with the Jets early in his career, but they weren't like anywhere near a playoff caliber team. And so it was this is the fastest he's ever had to process. They threw a game plan at him. The Vikings probably went in thinking, all right, our guy shreds the blitz, and they're playing a bunch of backups on defense. There's no way they're going to send an extra man or two all night long and leave those guys in the secondary one-on-one essentially with either Jefferson, Addison. Dude, those guys weren't open very often. There was like 4 or 5 plays in the red zone where Darnold did miss open receivers, but the Vikings' weapons were covered way more than they should have been too. So there's a bunch of different layers to this, that some of it you just have to tip your cap to the Lions for an amazing game plan and execution. And also, Sam Darnold swimming in the deepest end of the pool for the first time in his career. Okay, now you know what it feels like. Can you absorb it all and get to the next level quickly, or do you drown in the deep end again against the Rams? We don't know until they snap the ball at 7:20 on Monday night.
Correct. I mean, what I can't necessarily quantify is how much does playoff experience matter? I get it. Darnold was on the sideline last year for the 49ers, but he's never taken a playoff snap. How much does that matter? You're right, though, Phil. Justin Jefferson had a horrible game. We can say that on Sunday night. Great receiver. Perhaps the best receiver in the game. I'm starting to lean more toward Jamar Chase, but Jefferson's right there. Earned the contract. Future Hall of Famer, the path he is on. Doesn't matter if he's number 1 or number 2 on the current list. He is elite. He is a superstar. He stunk on Sunday night. Jordan Addison was not good as well. I'm telling you, the left side of the offensive line worries me greatly. I did not see that coming. Detroit for 4 consecutive weeks, including 6 days prior, Monday Night Football in Santa Clara, never in a million years, right? I thought Detroit's defense was completely decimated. Yeah. I don't know. Does Anzalone make that much of a difference? By the way, I'm not convinced that Tampa beats Washington. So Dan Campbell with the psychological, gameplay there. Hey, we'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm not so sure we will. I could see it being Commanders, Lions, Vikings at Eagles.
And Jalen Hurts is not out of concussion protocol yet. There's some really interesting things brewing for this weekend. If Jalen Hurts, it's Tuesday. Does he get cleared on Wednesday? And even if he hasn't practiced in, I think, 16 or 17 days. What if the Eagles have to play the Packers without Jalen Hurts playing quarterback? You could actually see a world where Commanders upset Buccaneers if Eagles don't get Jalen Hurts. And now all of a sudden, if you're the Vikings, would they then be hosting a divisional round playoff game if they can get past the ramp?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, if you like the Commanders' chances to beat Tampa, and if Jalen Hurts isn't cleared and/or but is rusty with lack of preparation on the field, coming out of the concussion protocol, if Green Bay springs the upset, Sure, then you have Packers against Lions, Commanders at Vikings the weekend of January 18th. Not out of the realm of possibilities. I still think, if you're asking me right now, Commanders beat Buccaneers, Eagles beat Packers, Vikings beat Rams. So then Vikings at Eagles the weekend of the 18th, and Commanders at Lions. But sure, there's a lot of interesting stuff. Hey, I'm the one who left the Rams for dead at 1-4. I can't believe the Rams are in the playoffs. I was wrong about that. Heck, how much does it matter now that Puka and Kupp and Stafford got last week off? That they will be well rested. A lot of their guys got playoff experience last year. Yeah, they have some rookies making an impact, but they have guys that have been through the playoffs. Vikings do too. But I'm telling you, I don't know how much that matters. And I guess it depends on who you talk to. Like, name drop. I mentioned it last week. I was going to catch up with Brad Childress. Finally did that on Monday, and he said it's a big deal, right? So
The rest?
No, playoff experience. That Sam doesn't have that playoff experience. But Sunday night, in many ways, was a playoff game.
It was.
So now he understands that bigger type game environment. So how does that translate to Monday night at SoFi? So many interesting questions, but I'm telling you, I've seen enough with KOC. He is going to have these guys uber ready to play.
That's true, but your two-pronged problem, though, on offense on Monday night is this. One is part of Darnold's problem is his release time. He's just too slow. The ball has to come out. And now teams know if we kick his ass, he's going to have problems. So one, can you speed that up? The other problem is the full Aaron Jones experience now, which is on Sunday. It would have been really nice to say, hey, our quarterback not feeling it, right? Let's go to the run game more consistently. But Aaron Jones has been in and out, including on Sunday. So the question is, can KO bring himself to use the run game? And if he does, can it be effective? Because the Rams defense, actually far healthier than the Lions, is going to replicate trying to hit Darnold as much as possible. This is what happened with the bounty, of course, in 2009 to Brett Favre. But he was Brett Favre, so he could handle it. But he got his ass whooped. Sam Darnold has to process, you are going to get your butt kicked now. You either A, have to get the ball out quicker, or B, nut up big time, buddy. And those are some very, very...
Sack up, Sam. Let's go.
Well, just take the beating. If your ribs get broken, dude, it happens. It's
Sorry,
the NFL.
Guy.
But you just suck it up and you continue to play.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, but that thing is, you're Sam Darnold. If you can't take it, then they're going to lose. That's my thing, is there were some very obvious things on Sunday that go well beyond, hey, it's a playoff game. It's no, the blueprint is it's a playoff game, and now you are going to get hit continually. How do you process that?
Well, how will this game be officiated? So we found out on Monday, the lead official. Phil, is it the same official Monday night Bears game?
What's his name? What's the name of the guy? I'll tell you. If you tell me his name, I'll tell you.
I can't remember. Feel like he was the guy that led.
Is it John Hussey?
That might be it. Shoot.
I think that's him.
Yes.
Give me a sec.
Yes.
Old John Hussey. Maybe John Hussey can call a face mask penalty on Monday, huh? Be nice.
Well, I'm just saying, okay, if Sam takes a beating, are there some potential late hits? Okay, how grabby are the Rams? I mean, that was an interesting thing on Sunday, that there wasn't one PI flag. When considering the Lions lead the NFL in pass interference penalties, that crew led the NFL this year in calling pass interference penalties. Sure, we had some defensive holding, but that to me was interesting. But that will play a role next Monday. How is the game officiated?
The Lions were a little grabby. It kind of felt like, hey, we got nothing to lose. We're going to be leaving these dudes one-on-one in a lot of cases. Just be physical. They're not going to call everything. That's what the 2017 Vikings did a lot, right? They're not going to throw a flag on every play. So grab a hand, throw a shoulder into a guy past 5 yards, and if they call a couple of them, okay. But if we get away with 10 different ones and we throw a route off, or it prevents Sam from pulling the trigger, So what about I know it's early in the week and we don't get the injury report till Wednesday, but knock on wood, despite getting smoked, the Vikings seem relatively healthy. Sam Darnold does have like I don't know if it's like a wrap. There's something on his throwing hand, it looks like.
Thumb, I think.
Yeah, it's like between the thumb and the index
it's been
finger.
Off for like 3 weeks now.
But he's not on the injury report. Right? I just wonder if that's a thing. But it looks like they're relatively healthy other than that. Maybe Pat Jones again. What else, dude?
Yeah, there's definitely some uncertainty with Jones on the knee. Fabian Moreau trending toward being back, even if it's 7, 8, 9 snaps. Do you prefer Moreau on the field compared to Dwight McLaughlin as the number 4 cornerback? I mean, heck, Shaq Griffin barely played on Sunday night. But, if you prefer Fabian trending in that direction. Yeah, Darnold, I mean, he was limping at 1.2 on Sunday. So you wonder about the ankle. Is he okay in that regard? But, yeah, I mean, Sam is going to play. He's had that wrap on in practice going back a number of weeks. And so I'm not necessarily concerned about that. But, hey, I don't know. Did that somehow play a role, the thumb? Play a role in some of the inaccuracy on Sunday? I don't know if we'll ever have that answer. I don't know. I don't think no. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, pretty darn healthy. Now the Rams, they lose Blake Corum, their backup running back. Figure we'll see that much more Kyron Williams on Monday. But the Rams are healthy as they've been. I mean, consider how just beat up they were weeks 1 through 5-ish. Like the Rams are as healthy as all year. So yeah, I mean, heck, you'd love to have Christian Darrisaw, right? You think back to October 24th, the game where Darrisaw was lost for the year right before halftime in LA, right? You'd love to have Darrisaw, don't get me wrong. But all things considered, yeah, outside of Pat Jones, the knee, the Vikings will head into Monday healthy.
Daniel Jones. So I think that we definitely talked about this on the scoop last week, Dukes. And I think you said that you believed or had been told by a source that if he was activated to the 53 during the playoffs, that also would include the ability to get a compensatory draft pick in 2026 if he leaves. What is your expectation of that happening now?
Yeah, I expect it. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, whether it's, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever that timetable is. But yes,
okay. Sunday.
I fully expect it to happen later this week. I was told that a couple weeks ago when I was told, hey, look into the possibility that he could be added that first playoff week. And so I was told either leading into, now heck, I was told many, many weeks ago, the expectation was more into the Seattle game or Green Bay game, but I was told, that's why I brought it up last week in this space. I guess it would have been, New Year's Eve, last Tuesday. I don't think it was Thursday. I think it was Tuesday that, hey, there is that possibility. I did admit I need to look into it, and I believe Kevin Seifert beat me to the punch on that. He got clarification on that yes, indeed, the Vikings can add Daniel Jones this week, still be in line for a compensatory pick. So, yeah, I expect the Vikings to do that before the week is over.
We'll go rapid fire scoops here in just a moment, but welcome Pep's Legit Pizza to SKOR North. For the YouTube audience, this is going to be the best 30 seconds of your day right here because Pep's Legit Pizza is incredible. The crunchy crust, robust sauce, melty cheese. It's kind of a throwback. Reminds you, even when you cut it in squares too, it reminds you of your childhood favorite pizza. Stone-baked, cracker-thin crust. You can find Legit Pizzas. I went to a local grocery store 3 weeks ago, picked up 3 of them, and they were incredible. You can find Legit Pizzas at a store near you to have an authentic at-home pizza parlor experience. So check them out. It's Pep's Legit Pizza. Welcome to SKOR North. Doogie, give us a couple minutes of rapid-fire scoops here, if you could. Hey, the Timberwolves, nice little victory last night against the Clippers with the starting lineup change.
Yeah, incredible shot making by Ant late. The Wolves lead the NBA in clutch time games. 35 games this year, 23 have been within, what's the official definition? Is it 5 points, 5 minutes to go? Something like that. Point is, the Wolves have played the most clutch time games in the NBA this year. 9th in the Western Conference right now, a game and a half from being in 7th, but also just a game and a half up from 12th place. So it just tells you how close the standings are, pretty much 4 through 12, but certainly 7 through 12. I'm not sure all their problems have been solved with the lineup change, but glad we saw something. Still would like to see Naz Reid start over Julius Randle. No sense that Chris Finch is ready to do something drastic like that. The reason why Dante for Mike can work so well is because Mike is the ultimate professional. Just fine, even though he had started every game, that he was healthy in a Wolves uniform. So that was different for Mike, but I thought Mike played well. I get it. The Wolves are trying to figure out how to unleash that two-man game, Dante with Julius. So an easy way is you start Dante. You have Dante on the floor with Julius of the game. So, yeah, that was good. On the ownership front, Friday, I'm told Friday, before this week is over, players are being summoned back, right? So, finally, we're moving a little bit on the arbitration front. Now, let me offer one point of clarification. Well, let me first start by saying, okay, so lawyers summoned back on Friday, answer some final questions. The 3-person arbitration panel then can take another month to make a decision. Now, the decision could come much sooner, but they could take up to a month. So it could be like February 9th or 10th, like Monday, February 10th, before we have the ultimate decision. It could come certainly sooner. I mentioned last week, might have been Thursday, don't remember if it was Tuesday or Thursday, that, okay, there is the possibility of whoever loses going to a federal judge to vacate the decision. If you look at the contract, so I was texted after I said that by somebody very much in the know. They said, hey, go back and look at the contract. So I did. Page 35 or 36, something like that, under arbitration, it is binding. It is there in writing that the arbitration decision is binding. The reason I brought up the possibility of it going to a federal judge is I was told, hey, you need to look into that. So I still need to do some homework on that front, but just know in writing in the contract, it does say arbitration is binding, which means whatever the 3-person arbitration panel decides, that is the final decision. There is no going to a federal judge. And I'll continue to say Mark and Alex have had a compelling case the entire way through. So I'm not quite sure what Friday will change in that regard. I don't think it will change anything. It'll come down to this independent arbitrator, Thomas Fraser. You know, you figure that Glenn's arbitrator will rule in his favor and Mark and Alex's arbitrator will rule in their favor. So it comes down to Thomas Fraser. But that is the update. We're at least looking at some semblance of news heading into later this week. The Mavs and Clippers had NBA scouts at the Gophers-Purdue game last week. The Mavs had a scout at last night's game. I don't know how much you guys watched of Gophers-Ohio State last night, but what we saw at the end of regulation and the end of the first overtime, like I can't even explain it. I really can't. Caden Bett's in the game when you have Trey Edmonds and Frank Mitchell on the bench. Caden Bett should not be rebounding.
I mean,
I know
they're
I'm
below
choked
Troy
up talking about it.
and Furman in the Ken Pom. I mean, they are. This is the least relevant Gopher basketball has been in my entire life, 40 years.
Yes. I'm still battling a cold, boys. So
okay, Doogie's.
All right,
we're gonna
Dukes.
say goodbye to
Love ya.
Doogie looking like the Gophers at the end of regulation and overtime there.
Tap out.
Ohio State.
He just also clicked on that. See you, bye. All right.
So, all right, yeah, Timberwolves. We're gonna pump out a hottest takes edition of Flagrant Howls on this Tuesday as well, and a bunch of Vikings news on Purple Daily that we didn't even really touch on. The Flores stuff. He's being requested for interviews, so we'll get to that on Purple Daily here. But there's your scoop session, Minnesota sports with Mackie and Judd.